Hey there! Welcome back to the Nauctis on YouTube. In the world of sailing, sometimes there are fantastic tragedies and huge losses. The ship Felicity Ace, carrying thousands of luxury cars, burned down completely, incurring hundreds of millions of dollars in losses. Other ships like the MV Golden Ray and the Cougar Ace also suffered bad luck due to human error and poor equipment, causing losses and negative impacts on the environment. These stories are dark moments in modern sailing, which should have been smooth and safe. Enjoy exploring this journey, delving into the mysteries and lessons from hidden modern maritime tragedies. A Panama-flagged ship named the Felicity Ace measured 200 meters in length and 32 meters in width. This ship had a capacity to hold about 6,400 vehicle units. On February 16, 2022, it was traveling from Emden, Germany to Davisville, Rhode Island, USA. It carried around 4,000 luxury vehicles manufactured by the Volkswagen Group, including brands like Porsche, Audi, Lamborghini, and Bentley. Unfortunately, disaster struck the ship while it was off the coast of the Azores, Portugal. Suddenly, a fierce fire broke out in one of the ship's cargo holds. The fire quickly spread throughout the ship, engulfing the cars on board. The crew tried to extinguish the fire, but to no avail. Eventually, they decided to abandon the ship and called for evacuation assistance. The Portuguese Navy, 4 merchant ships nearby, and the Portuguese Air Force promptly initiated a rescue operation. A total of 22 crew members were safely evacuated and taken to a hotel on the island of 𝗖𝗂𝗂𝗯𝗏. Meanwhile, the Felicity Ace was left floating unattended in the open sea. For nearly 2 weeks, the ship was battered by waves and strong winds. The fire continued to blaze, emitting thick black smoke. There were no efforts to extinguish the fire or tow the ship ashore. The reason being the ship's condition was too severe and it was deemed unsalvageable. Moreover, there was a risk of environmental pollution if the ship was approached. On March 1, 2022, a shocking event occurred. The nearest port captain on the island of 𝗖𝗂𝗂𝗏, João Mendes Cabecas, announced that the Felicity Ace had sunk to the seabed. This happened while trying to tow the ship using a steel rope. However, water began to infiltrate the hull, causing the ship to lose stability. In an instant, the ship sank to a depth of about 3,500 meters. Thousands of luxury cars inside were also buried at the bottom of the sea. There was no hope of retrieving these cars as the ship's sinking location was too deep and inaccessible. Additionally, there was a possibility that the ship's fuel tanks could rupture, causing a dangerous oil leak that could harm the marine ecosystem. So what was the loss caused by this incident? According to experts from the Russell Group, the cargo value inside the Felicity Ace amounted to $438 million. This does not include losses due to the ship's damage or potential environmental impacts. The Golden Ray was a South Korean-flagged cargo ship that had been operational since 2017. The ship measured 199 meters in length, 36 meters in width, and had a deadweight of 71,178 tons. It was designed to transport motor vehicles, such as cars, trucks, and buses, and had a capacity of around 6,933 vehicle units. On September 8, 2019, the Golden Ray departed from the port of Brunswick in Georgia, US, heading towards Baltimore, Maryland. The ship was carrying around 4,200 cars, including brands like Hyundai, Kia, Mercedes-Benz, and Land Rover. The total value of the ship's cargo was estimated to be $175 million. However, shortly after leaving the port, the ship experienced a steering system failure and started tilting to the right. In less than an hour, the ship capsized and became stranded in the waters of St. Simon's Sound, near Jekyll Island. This incident shocked both the crew and local authorities. Out of the 24 people on board, 20 were quickly evacuated by rescue teams. Unfortunately, 4 others were trapped in the engine room and had to be freed by cutting through the ship's hull. Fortunately, all crew members were rescued without sustaining serious injuries. The primary cause of this incident was a miscalculation by the ship's senior officer in managing the ballast or counterweight load. Ballast is seawater pumped into special tanks at the bottom of the ship to maintain stability and balance while carrying cargo. The amount of ballast needs to be adjusted according to the weight and distribution of the cargo to prevent the ship from being too light or too heavy. The senior officer responsible for calculating the ballast used a computer software that he was not well versed with. He made an error in entering the water level data in the ballast tanks into the computer, resulting in incorrect ship stability calculations. As a result, the Golden Ray had only 1,492 metric tons of ballast, whereas it should have had 2,030 metric tons. This 538 metric ton difference made the ship too light and unstable. Moreover, the doors between the cargo space and the ballast tanks were left open, allowing seawater to enter the cargo space as the ship tilted. The combination of these factors meant that the Golden Ray could not withstand the rolling forces generated by the sea currents and wind. The ship capsized and became stranded in shallow waters, leaning at an angle of about 90 degrees. Most of the cars inside the ship were severely damaged or destroyed, either falling into the sea or being set ablaze. Fuel, lubricants, and other chemicals inside the ship leaked, polluting the surrounding waters and beaches. Cleaning up and removing the shipwreck required a massive and lengthy effort. The dismantling process began in November 2020, using a giant 122-meter-tall crane to cut the ship into 8 large sections. Each section was then lifted and transported to a disposal site. The Cougar Ace is a Singapore-flagged ship measuring 199 meters in length and 32 meters in width, with a capacity to carry about 5,000 vehicles. On July 23, 2006, it was traveling from Nagoya, Japan to Vancouver, Canada. It was loaded with about 4,700 new Mazda vehicles, including the Mazda 3, Mazda 5, Mazda 6, CX-7, and RX-8 models. Unfortunately, disaster struck the ship while it was off the coast of the Aleutian Islands, Alaska. Suddenly, there was a mistake in the process of changing the ballast water, which is meant to maintain the ship's balance. Consequently, the ship lost stability and tilted to an angle of about 60 degrees. The crew tried to fix the situation but failed. Eventually, they decided to abandon ship and call for evacuation assistance. The US Navy, the US Coast Guard, and several nearby ships quickly initiated a rescue operation. All 23 crew members were safely evacuated and taken to a military base on 𝗤𝗏𝗃 Island. For nearly a month, the ship was tossed around by waves and strong winds. The ship remained overturned and at risk of sinking at any time. Several attempts to tow the ship to shore or correct its position failed due to bad weather or technical difficulties. Additionally, there was the risk of environmental pollution if the ship leaked and caused an oil or chemical spill. On August 8, 2006, a team of experts from the Titan Maritime Rescue Company managed to stabilize the ship using steel ropes and water pumps. They successfully returned the ship to a tilt angle of about 13 degrees. Then they towed it to the port of Dutch Harbor in Alaska for further inspection. Thus, thousands of new cars inside were saved from the threat of sinking. However, were these cars still fit for sale or use? It turns out they were not. According to Mazda's assessment, nearly all the cars inside the ship, suffered severe damages due to the incident. The damages included issues with the engine, transmission, electrical systems, suspension, tires, glass, and both interior and exterior parts. Mazda then decided not to sell or use these cars, fearing safety or quality issues. They also refused to donate or gift the cars to others for the same reasons. In the end, they chose to destroy all these cars by cutting them up or putting them through a crushing machine. So, what was the financial loss caused by this incident? The estimated value of the cargo inside the Cougar Ace was about $103 million. This does not include the losses due to the ship's damages itself, or the tens of millions of dollars in rescue operation costs. The MV Baltic Ace was a car carrier ship, a type of ship specifically designed to transport vehicles in a fully enclosed cargo space. It was registered under the Bahama flag and was constructed by 𝗤𝗃𝗃 Gdynia in Poland in the year 2007. This ship was 148 meters long, 25 meters wide, and had a deadweight of 7,787 tons. It could carry around 2,132 standard-sized cars. On December 5, 2012, the MV Baltic Ace was voyaging from Zeebrugge, Belgium to Kotka, Finland, transporting 1,417 cars. At the same time, another ship named 𝗤𝗂𝗃𝗁𝗁, flagged under Cyprus, was sailing from Grangemouth, Scotland to Antwerp, Belgium, carrying 3,000 tons of steel. Both ships encountered each other at a crossing area called the North-Hinder Junction Precautionary Area in the North Sea, approximately 65 kilometers off the Dutch coast. Around 1815 local time, a collision occurred between the two vessels. According to reports from the Bahamian maritime authorities, the main cause of the collision was communication and navigation errors between the two ship captains. The 𝗤𝗂𝗃𝗁𝗁, which should have yielded the way to the MV Baltic Ace, did not do so due to misjudging the position and direction of the other vessel. The MV Baltic Ace's attempt to avoid the collision by turning right was also unsuccessful, as it was too late and too close to the other ship. As a result of the collision, the right side of the MV Baltic Ace was torn open, allowing seawater to flood into the engine and cargo spaces. The ship began to tilt and sank in less than 15 minutes. Although the 𝗤𝗂𝗃𝗁𝗁 sustained damage to its bow, it managed to stay afloat and assist the victims. Out of the 24 crew members of the MV Baltic Ace, only 13 were able to survive. 11 individuals lost their lives either due to drowning or hypothermia, owing to the extremely cold seawater. 5 bodies were found near the site of the incident, while 6 others were never recovered. All crew members of the 𝗤𝗂𝗃𝗁𝗁 survived without injuries. Aside from the loss of life, the incident also caused enormous material losses. All the cars inside the MV Baltic Ace were declared a total loss and could not be recovered. The total value of these vehicles was estimated to be around 40 million euros. To this day, the wreckage of the MV Baltic Ace remains on the seabed at a depth of about 35 meters. The Dutch government plans to lift the wreckage as it is considered a danger to marine navigation and the sea environment. The MV Grande America was an Italian-flagged cargo ship that sailed from Hamburg, Germany to Casablanca, Morocco. It was carrying 2,100 new cars, mostly brands like Audi, Porsche, and Volkswagen, in addition to 45 containers loaded with various goods including wood, furniture, and chemicals. However, on March 9, 2019, when the ship was in the Atlantic Ocean, about 200 nautical miles off the coast of France, a severe fire broke out in one of the containers on the deck. The fire quickly spread to other containers and the cars on board the ship. The crew of 27 people were unable to extinguish the fire and were forced to abandon the ship. Fortunately, there were no casualties in this incident. The crew was successfully evacuated with the help of the British and French navies who came to assist. However, the fate of the ship could not be salvaged. After burning for 2 days, it finally sank on March 12, 2019. This incident resulted in significant economic losses for car manufacturers and insurance companies. According to media reports, the total value of the sunk vehicles reached about 50 million euros. Just imagine, among the losses was a Porsche 911 GT2 RS, which was worth around 300,000 euros. Such a pity. The incident had serious environmental impacts, as the ship was carrying around 2,200 tons of fuel oil and hazardous chemicals. Oil spills and sea contamination posed threats to marine life and the ecosystem surrounding the shipwreck site. Authorities have undertaken cleanup and monitoring efforts to minimize the negative impacts. On December 31, 2018, the expansive 650-foot vessel named Sincerity Ace encountered a severe mishap when it ignited amidst the Pacific Ocean, approximately 1,800 nautical miles away from Oahu. The vessel, manned by 21 crew members, had to be abandoned as per the captain's orders. Despite the considerable distance from the mainland, nearby commercial vessels swiftly reached the distressed ship, successfully rescuing 16 of its crew members. Sadly, the incident claimed the lives of 5 individuals. Under the management of MOL, the Panama-registered ship was transporting around 3,800 Nissan automobiles at the time of the incident. The precise origin of the fire remains undetermined, with the flames persisting for several days before the ship was eventually dragged back to Japanese shores. The official investigation report by the Panama Maritime Authority has been handed over to the International Maritime Organization, but its contents remain confidential to the public. Noteworthy is the commendable effort by the team aboard the US-flagged vehicle transporter, Green Lake. As the initial responders to the emergency, they have been honored with the US Maritime Administration's Gallant Ship Citation, appreciating their role in the response efforts. This prestigious accolade, granted to only 41 vessels since its inception in 1944, was last bestowed upon a ship in the same year of establishment. That wraps up today's video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more awesome videos. Catch you in the next one.